For years, I thought that clutter was just about the stuff in my home, my closet and drawers, a storage full of clutter, literally just stuff. And while all of that, yes, needed to go, that was just a symptom of what was really draining my energy and keeping me stuck. The real clutter, the stuff that kept me broke and overwhelmed and exhausted, was the stuff that you don't see, but it lived in my head. It came out in my habits and it shaped my identity. And when I finally decluttered these four invisible things, my entire life changed. My energy came back. I stopped living in survival mode. My finances completely shifted. So today I am walking you through the four things that I had to declutter to change my whole life and how doing the same will change yours too. Let's get into it. As I share these four with you, do know that all four of them kept me stuck in the same cycles of being tired and overwhelmed and financially stretched. I'm going to explain how each of them played their part and how you may see these patterns showing up in your own life as well so that you can choose to do something different. One of the first things that I had to declutter was waiting for permission. This is something that I didn't fully realize that I was doing and that I know most people don't recognize because it shows up as being realistic or not wanting to disappoint anyone. But underneath all of that is just waiting for someone to confirm your decisions, waiting for validation or approval or to be chosen, waiting for someone to say, yes, high five, that is a good idea, go for it, now is the right time. This clutter is purely mental and emotional, where you don't trust yourself or the big dreams that God has placed inside of you. For the longest time, I waited to pursue dreams or make changes or invest in myself or rest because I felt so unsure of my ability to make the right decision. Part of that is innate. Growing up, I was always the good girl. I always wanted to do the right thing. I never wanted anybody to be disappointed in me, but it got so part of my psyche that I was living my whole life like I was waiting for a permission slip to just move forward. And girl, I'm sure you can imagine that was so tiring. Waiting for permission is so exhausting because you find that you are constantly second guessing yourself. For me, my mind would stay cluttered with, well, what if I'm wrong? What if they don't support me? What if people think I'm doing too much? What if this isn't the right time? It drains your confidence. It drains your energy. It drains your belief in your own voice. And so you end up being so exhausted because you are carrying the emotional weight of everybody else's opinions. It also kept me overwhelmed because nothing ever felt certain. If you find that you are stuck in this place of waiting for permission, you know that you don't move until someone else agrees. You don't take risks or trust your instincts without a full-blown plan of reassurance. And all of that keeps your brain in this constant state of, well, what should I do? What if it's wrong? What will they think? Overwhelm isn't always from the things that you need to get done. It's not always from your to-do list or your tasks. Sometimes it's from indecision, from holding yourself in this loop because you're waiting for approval that isn't coming. Waiting for permission is also one of the biggest causes of staying stuck financially because you don't apply for better jobs without someone else's confidence backing you. You don't ask for raises because you are waiting to feel ready. You don't start the project or the business idea because nobody's told you that it's going to work. You don't invest in your growth, even when you know that you need it, because you're waiting for somebody else to validate that choice. You cannot build a different financial future when you are constantly waiting for someone else to co-sign every move. And the thing is, if you are constantly waiting for somebody else's permission, you're going to be waiting for the rest of your life. For me, I learned that permission is a mindset, not a moment. It is a decision that you make, not something that you request from somebody else. The moment that things shifted for me was when I realized that I was way more scared of not trying and guaranteeing that I would never, quote unquote, get there than trying and getting it wrong. I could no longer give other people the power over when or if I could start. When I finally gave myself permission, my decisions got clearer, my confidence got stronger, my choices got bolder, and really my life just opened up in ways that I didn't expect. Good ways, really, really good ways. Another thing that I had to declutter was the superwoman mentality. This is about what you do and the role that you play in your life. With this mentality, you believe that your strength means carrying everything alone. And the thing is, you already know what I mean. You may often find yourself saying, oh, I'll just handle it. I don't want to be a burden to anyone. If I don't do it, it won't get done right. I should be able to do all of this. On the outside, it looks like competence, but inside, what it feels like is drowning. It is the version of us that keeps us pushing, proving, performing, and managing without ever stopping to think, is this actually sustainable for my life? And I lived like that for years. This is how that mentality kept me tired, overwhelmed, and broke. So first, I was just exhausted, like bone deep tired. This was a point in my life where I clearly remember every single day double fisting a Coke Zero in one hand and a Red Bull in the other, all after I had already had my morning coffee. I honestly have no clue how I managed to still be healthy. Actually, no, that's not right. I do. God was really doing his thing inside of me because it was bad. I was so used to being the go-to person, the reliable one, the strong one, but it was not doing anything good for me. It was so exhausting. At the time, I knew it didn't feel good, but it also just felt normal. And finally, unlearning that mentality was one of the biggest blessings. I stayed overwhelmed because doing everything yourself puts you in this constant flight or fight mode. You are always one tiny inconvenience away from a full-blown meltdown. And it's not because you're dramatic, but because you have no margin. Like there is literally no room for things to not go according to plan. Something as simple as a last minute email or spilling something on your shirt or having to wait too long at the light, whatever, can tip you over the edge. Your brain is cluttered, your mind is stretched, and you don't have any bandwidth. When you're stuck in this place of being superwoman, you don't really have any capacity to dream big because your whole life is spent reacting to emergencies. There is no space for creativity or strategy or vision. And so you can't step into your next level when you are barely surviving the one that you're in. Overwhelm keeps you stuck in this place of maintenance and not growth. And then eventually life just becomes one big to-do list instead of something that you're actually living. It also kept me broke, not because I wasn't working hard, but because I was working so hard, I was doing so much that I didn't have anything left for what could actually move me forward. When you're doing everything alone, that mental load is nonstop. You are making every decision, solving every problem, carrying every responsibility, and the decision fatigue is so real. When your brain is that tired, you default to survival instead of to strategy. You do what's fastest, not necessarily what's smartest. You procrastinate. You overspend out of convenience. You miss opportunities and avoid change. You stay in situations longer than you should, all because you're exhausted. Doing everything myself costs me more than just money. It costs me clarity and focus and rest and the ability to think ahead. And without those things, it's almost impossible to break out of the paycheck to paycheck cycle. So that's the superwoman mentality. And when I finally recognized that I was not meant to do it all alone, I realized that it wasn't just the role that I was carrying, but it was also the routines that I was maintaining in my life, which brings me to the next type of clutter that I had to get rid of, which was rigid habits. I am a routine and habits girly. I love them. And for the longest time, I thought that all of the routines and structure that I had put in place for myself and the habits that I had were helping me. And some of them were, but in a past season. Now, let me be clear. Habits are not the problem, unless they're bad habits, in which case those are the problem. But good habits, we love. Good habits, those help us to build consistency, stability, and momentum. But sometimes those habits can become rigid, which is what happened for me. The systems that used to support me started to make me feel boxed in and drained. Some of the routines that I had been clinging to were no longer giving me the structure that I needed, but were instead stealing my flexibility. Rigid habits are the clutter that lives in your daily systems and behaviors. It can look like doing things the old way because that is the way that you've always done them and they worked before. Keeping routines that don't match your life anymore. Staying loyal to systems that you've outgrown. Or running on autopilot because you're just too tired to create something better. It's this feeling of, all right, I know this isn't working, but change feels overwhelming, so I'm just gonna keep doing what I know. Constantly forcing my life to match outdated routines took energy that I didn't even know that I was spending. Those rigid habits also kept me overwhelmed because outdated systems create chaos. If your habits don't fit your current life, then everything feels harder than it needs to be. What typically happens is that most of us don't audit our habits to see if they are still working for us or fix them when we realize they're not. We just push harder. So, for example, there was a whole season, years and years even, where I did my workout first thing in the morning. That was just my routine. In the past year or so, I realized that that just wasn't really working for me. It wasn't working for my schedule. I wasn't even enjoying doing it that way anymore. And at first, I kept trying to do it and could not figure out why is there so much resistance. Now I actually do my workouts usually around midday, which works out so nicely for me, and it's something that I look forward to. Giving myself the flexibility to shift things into this new season that I was in immediately made it so that I could enjoy and look forward to moving my body and getting in my workouts again. Sometimes things in our lives need adjustment, and that is completely okay, but we have to give ourselves permission to be able to do it, to be able to see what's working, what's not working anymore, and move in a direction that is going to work. I also realized that these rigid habits kept me stuck because I was trapped in some of the same cycles. If your routines and how you do things don't evolve, then your opportunities won't either. You will keep using your time the same way and managing your money the same way. You will stay busy instead of productive or comfortable instead of growing. When your habits are rigid, it keeps your life predictable, but predictable doesn't always equal progress. The last thing that I had to declutter, and honestly, the one that I probably fought the longest, was the old version of me. This one goes pretty deep because it is not about what you do, it is not about your schedule or your habits. It is about how you see yourself and who you believe yourself to be. We operate based on our identity. It's what allows us to either level up or stay in exactly what we know. There was a version of me who sincerely thought that life was probably going to peak in my 20s, which was scary because my 20s weren't that great, but who thought I needed to have it figured out by my 20s, who was afraid to start over, who assumed that she was behind. That version of me looked at other people who were boldly living their life and wondering, how could I ever do that? How could I ever get there? If you've been here for a minute, you already know that this changed when I decided to live in privilege. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I have a whole list of videos that I will link down below for you to be able to watch about that. But it is this mindset where you truly do believe that you can have the access to the best of life. You can have great experiences. You can live a good life. And the way that you show up for yourself reflects that belief. It is not about being better than other people. It is purely in how you see and show up for yourself. That was a game changer for my identity. And the thing is, who I was before wasn't a bad version. In fact, I was doing some pretty great things, but that was the version of me that truly was just surviving. And I could not move into thriving when all I was doing was surviving. Carrying an outdated identity that does not allow you to be able to move forward is one of the most exhausting things that you can do. You feel pulled in two different directions, who it is that you have been and who you're working to become. And that internal tug of war is so draining to your energy. You want to level up, but there's this part of you that is still operating from old beliefs. You want to show up boldly, but the old identity is so scared of taking the leap. And so it is this mental, emotional, and spiritual fatigue that you are wrestling with on a consistent basis. When your identity is outdated, even small steps forward feel overwhelming because they threaten the story that you have always told about yourself. Every new commitment feels risky. Every dream feels too big. Every opportunity feels like, who am I to do that? And the thing is, You're not overwhelmed because you can't handle the next level. You're overwhelmed because the old identity is fighting to keep you in your comfort zone where it feels safe. Think of it as trying to open a new door while your past self is still like clinging to your ankle. Of course, you feel stuck and scared. Of course, your nervous system is on high alert because your brain is trying to protect this version of you that needs to go or that no longer exists. Changing my identity also changed my finances. Your identity sets your limits, which means it also determines your financial capacity. If you see yourself as the woman who always struggles, then subconsciously you will make decisions that keep that story true. If you see yourself as behind, you hesitate, you play small, you wait for the right time, you talk yourself out of opportunities that could change your entire situation. If you see yourself as unqualified, you won't even apply. You won't pitch, you won't negotiate, you won't raise your prices, you won't try something new. You will stay in the job that you have outgrown. You will stay in cycles that you're meant to break, and you'll stay in scarcity even when abundance is available. You cannot build a new future with an outdated self-image. You can't create overflow from an identity that only knows and sees survival. When I started seeing myself as different and match that up with action, that was when I stopped living paycheck to paycheck and I had savings and I was able to start traveling. And at that point, which was about 10 years ago, this was when I was actually making a little bit less money, but my mind was so open to finally see possibilities where they had just been closed before. I was finally able to see how things could be different for me, and my life started to match up with that. When I finally let go of that old version of me, everything else started shifting and my whole direction changed. And that's really what this entire journey is about. Not just decluttering the parts of your life that you can see, but also the ones that you can't, so that you can step into a life that feels good both on the inside and the outside. And maybe you're listening to this and you're thinking, all right, Christy, I know something needs to change, but I'm just not sure where to start, which is why I am launching my Declutter Your Life 2026 digital planner. Here's what you probably know by now. Decluttering your life is not a one day or one weekend or one month event. It is a journey. And most people don't stay consistent with it because they don't have any structure, no way to stay focused and grounded on a continual basis. And that's where this planner comes in. Every month has a theme where we're focusing on decluttering a different part of your life. It may be your space, your finances, your habits, your schedule, all sorts of things. And by the end of 2026, you will have decluttered your whole life from the inside out. Think of this as a coach in your pocket for 2026. It has calendars and weekly spreads and all of that good stuff, but I'm so excited because it also has reflection prompts that are very specific to each month and each week. It has monthly letters from me, and there really is this structure that I have so intentionally built in there to make decluttering your life doable. Also, it's cute. It is launching on Black Friday, November 28th, 2025. So make sure that you are signed up for my mailing list so that you are the first to hear when it drops. Decluttering those 4 areas changed every part of my life, and I truly do believe that the same is possible for you. It is not going to be through perfection or having everything figured out, but about being willing to take that brave step to let go of the things that are weighing you down. If this video helped you, please make sure to like it and share it with someone else who may need it. Also, if you're not subscribed, well, what are you doing? I'm gonna need you to jump on that. All right, my friends, that is all I have for you today. I love you so much, and I cannot wait to see you in the next one. Mwah! Bye for now.